I don't think it's working. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. 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 Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Shri Radhe. Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Shri Shri Gauranitai. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Śrīla Prabhupada ki Jai. Grantara Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki Jai. All glorious to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to the morning Bhagavatam class. And we're going to recite a few prayers before we start. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Jai. Okay. So we're reading from 3rd Canto, chapter 31, and text 19 today. Okay. Pasyatyayam dhishanayana saptavadri Sharirakeda sharirya parasvadehe Yad strishtayasam tamaham purusham puranam Pashye bahirhridi cha chaityam iva pratitam Pasyatyayam dhishanayana saptavadri Sharirakeda sharirya parasvadehe Yat srishtayasam tamaham purusham puranam Pashye bahirhridi cha chaityam iva patitam. Please chant.
Pasyatyayam dhishanayana saptavadri
Pasyatyayam dhishanayana saptavadri
Sharirakeda sharira parasvadehe
Sharirakeda sharirya parasvadehe
Yat srishtaya santamaham purusham puranam
Yad srishtaya santamaham purusham puranam
Pashye bahiriti cha chaityamiva pratitam
Anybody else? Pasyatyayam dhishanayana saptavadrihi Sharirakeda sharirya parasvadehe Yad srishtaya samtamaham purusham puranam Pashye bahirhridi cha chaityamiva pratitam. Word for word, meaning. Pashyati, sees. Ayam, this living entity. Dhishanaya, with intelligence. Nanu, only. Saptavadrihi,
Saptavatrihi,
bound by the 7 layers of material coverings.
bound by the 7 layers of material coverings.
Sharirake,
Sharirake,
agreeable and disagreeable sense perceptions.
agreeable and disagreeable sense perception.
Dhamma Shariri,
Damashaniri,
having the body for self-control.
having a body for self-control.
Aparaha,
Aparaha,
another.
another.
Svadehe,
Devi,
in this body.
in his body.
Yat,
Yat,
by the Supreme Lord.
but the Supreme Lord.
Srishtaya,
Krishnaya,
endowed.
endowed.
Asam,
Asam,
was. Tam, him.
him.
Aham,
Aham,
I.
I.
Purusham,
Purusham,
person.
person.
Puranam,
Puranam,
oldest.
oldest.
Pashye,
Vashi,
see.
see.
Bahi,
Vahi,
outside.
outside.
Hridi,
Hridi,
in the heart.
in the heart.
Cha,
Ja,
and.
and
Chaityam,
Chaitya,
the source of the ego.
the source of the ego.
Eva,
Diva,
indeed.
indeed.
Pratitam,
Pratikam,
recognized. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The living entity in another type of body sees only by instinct. He knows only the agreeable and disagreeable sense perceptions of that particular body. But I have a body in which I can control my senses, and I can understand my destination. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whom I have been blessed with this body and by whose grace I can see Him within and without. Purport. The evolutionary process of different types of bodies is something like that of a fructifying flower. Just as there are different stages in the growth of a flower, the bud stage, the blooming stage, and the full-fledged, fully grown stage of aroma and beauty, there are 8,400,000 species of bodies in gradual evolution. And there is systematic progress from the lower species of life to the higher. The human form of life is supposed to be the highest, for it offers consciousness for getting out of the clutches of birth and death. The fortunate child in the womb of his mother realizes his superior position and is thereby distinguished from other bodies. Animals in bodies lower than that of a human being are conscious only as far as their bodily distress and happiness are concerned. They cannot think for more than their bodily necessities of life: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But in the human form of life, by the grace of God, the consciousness is so developed that a man can evaluate his exceptional position and thus realize the Self and the Supreme Lord. The word Dhamma Shariri means that we have a body in which we can control the senses and the mind. The complication of materialistic life is due to an uncontrolled mind and uncontrolled senses. One should feel grateful to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for having obtained such a nice human form of body, and one should properly utilize it. The distinction between an animal and a man is that the animal cannot control himself and has no sense of decency, whereas the human being has the sense of decency and can control himself. If this controlling power is not exhibited by the human being, then he is no better than an animal. By controlling the senses, or by the process of yoga regulation, one can understand the position of his self, the supersoul, the world, and their interrelation. Everything is possible by controlling the senses. Otherwise, we are no better than animals. Real self-realization by means of controlling the senses is explained herein. One should try to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead and one's own self also. To think oneself the same as the Supreme is not self-realization. Here it is clearly explained that the Supreme Lord is Anadi, or Purana, and He has no other cause. The living entity is born of the Supreme Godhead as part and parcel. It is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Anadir Adir Govinda. Govinda, the Supreme Person, has no cause. He is unborn. But the living entity is born of Him. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Mamaevam Sha, both the living entity and the Supreme Lord are unborn. But it has to be understood that the supreme cause of the part and parcel is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma Samhita therefore says that everything has come from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sarva Karana Karana. The Vedanta Sutra confirms this also, Janma Dhyasya Yataha. The Absolute Truth is the original source of everyone's birth. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava. I am the source of birth of everything, including Brahma and Lord Shiva and the living entities. This is self-realization. One should know that he is under the control of the Supreme Lord, and not think that he is fully independent. Otherwise, why should he be put into conditional life? Om Madhyanatimmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you so much everyone for coming. And as somehow devotees like to say that it's any service is purification not for people who actually receive the service, but for a person who gives the service. So it's very purifying to give Bhāgavatam class, especially as we're approaching Ratha Yatra. There is literally no time to do many things and what to speak about preparing for the class. So please forgive my mistakes and please pray that I can say something like in Shastra and beneficial for everyone. Yeah. So we read this verse yesterday with Jagadatri while we were going in the car to get fabrics. And she said a very interesting thing. She said, if only we could control the senses, everything would be just easy and wonderful. But then she said, but it's so hard. We always want to enjoy. We want to see something beautiful, want to touch something nice, want to hear something pleasing to the ears, like that. And so it's very hard to control these things. So in this verse, actually in the whole chapter, we've heard a lot of things about particular birth. About when I just joined Krishna consciousness, I could understand that, okay, there is not very pleasant to be sick, right, or to die, or to be old. But what's up with birth? Everyone makes such a nice deal about this. You know, it's celebration, baby showers, and all these different things. And I really could understand what's wrong with this until I read. I came to the third canto of Śrimad Bhāgavatam, and I read actually this chapter, and everything became clear that it's actually not very pleasant. We want to see it as very pleasant, but it's actually not. Yeah, we heard a lot about the sufferings of a human being inside the womb, and we came to the part where actually this little soul, he is praying to the Lord that once he get out of the womb, he will dedicate his life to service. And of course what happens, will be a little bit later in this chapter, but once he gets hit by material energy, like whole memory just gets erased. And it's very, very unfortunate situations. No one can understand what he wants, no one can understand what he needs. And it's pretty frustrating when we don't, when you try to express something, when you ask people to do something and they don't understand what your idea is, it's very frustrating. And what to speak if it actually relates to your basic needs. If you need to eat, you need to sleep, you need to rest, or something like that. So, yeah, it's not very fortunate position like that. And it's pretty amazing that in this verse, it's a prayers of this little soul going on in a mother's womb. He can actually very distinctly realize that what advantage he has in this body, in a human form of life, right? It says that little entity in another type of body sees only by instinct, but I have a body which I can control myself in, and I understand what's going to happen. Srila Prabhupada in his purport really nicely actually gives this metaphor or comparison how the whole evolutionary process compared to fructifying flower from, from school, from different teachings of Darwin, we learn that man came from monkeys. That's all we learn. But actually, in our philosophy, the evolutionary process is much, much deeper and much, much more. It includes many different levels. It's not only about the body, it's about the consciousness, it's about subtle body, desires, everything. Like this is actual evolution. And Srila Prabhupada compares it to fructifying flower, how first it's a bud stage and blooming stage and the full-fledged, fully grown stage of aroma and beauty. And this full-fledged actually stage, this is human form of life. So if you think about like evolutionary process that you start, I don't know, from microbe or something, maybe even low, a cell in the body of a microbe, and then you gradually go in, you change in bodies, and then you get in a little bit better. So it's a lot. It's 8,400 species, 400,000 species of life. That's a lot of lifetimes. And actually to get to this human form of life, it's very, very rare. And we see how our scriptures emphasize it a lot everywhere, how don't waste it. Just do whatever you need to do, but don't waste it. Otherwise, we will have to go again through all the cells and microbes and pray that, someone will chant Harinam to us, be in a cell. And even more, like in an evolutionary step, if you think about consciousness, what's the highest evolutionary stage, which is like fully grown flower with all the aroma and beauty. It's actually human being, but human being who is in Krishna consciousness, who actually takes to Krishna consciousness. And this like aroma and beauty, it actually can be compared how the more person develops in his relationship with God, in his relationships with himself relating to God, he attains really amazing qualities. We see it in many, many senior devotees, how many amazing qualities they have. It actually compares that, I don't remember the verse, but it says that all the devotees get all the good qualities of demigods, something like that. And And this is not artificial, so it's not like we just, if I want to be kind, I'm kind, right? If I want to be humble, I'm humble. That's not like that. You really have to develop these things. So in the human form of life, and especially this Krishna consciousness, we have an opportunity to develop it through many different things. And there is a very nice verse in Śrimad Bhāgavatam. My spiritual master, His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu, quite often refers to it. He's saying how every living entity is dear to Krishna, right? Somehow or other, squirrels, they don't pray, they don't chant japa, but they get new coat every winter. They don't do anything for it, but they get new, nicely, natural coat, so they can actually survive the winter like that, and food and all these things. And of course, Krishna takes care of everyone, but especially, he says in the 11th canto that the human beings are his favorite. So even by doing nothing, you're already Krishna's favorite, just because you're born in this form of body. Isn't it amazing? And what to speak about if we do something to please Krishna, how dear we become to him. It's really nice. So the verse goes, just to give some Shastric reference, it's 11:7:22. This is instructions of Supreme Personality of Godhead to Uddhava. This is actually their conversation. Very nice. It says, actually I'll read it a little bit more. There are a few verses, they're very nice. How Krishna actually glorifies the human form of life, how much we can do this body. It's kind of like, you get a new laptop, or you get new, Instapot, right? And then you use only one function out of it. Or you have a laptop and then you just use it to go through pictures. But it has so much potential, right? And you use it only for 0.0001%, right? And with the human form of life, it says in the purport also that one should properly utilize it. I like this word, utilize. Basically just apply this body for service to the Lord, like that. So, and I'll start from text 20. It says, an intelligent person, expert in perceiving the world around him and in applying sound logic, can achieve real benefit through his own intelligence. Thus, sometimes one acts as one's own instructing spiritual master. Text 21. In the human form of life, those who are self-controlled and expert in the spiritual science of Sankhya can directly see me, along with all of my potencies. In this world, there are many kinds of created bodies, some with one leg, others with 2, 3, 4, or more legs, and still others with no legs. But of all this, the human form is actually dear to me. So this is very good news. And he says, although I, the Supreme Lord, can never be captured by ordinary sense perception, those situated in human life may use their intelligence and other faculties of perception to directly search for me through both apparent and indirectly ascertained symptoms. Yeah, and then he goes on. So basically, we can already appreciate that we are in the human form of life. And yeah, sometimes we hear, nowadays, the world is crazy. You speak to someone on book distribution and you say something like, yeah, you know about karma and all this, samsara, we get in another body. And it doesn't seem like many people are scared to get animal's body, or even worse. Yeah, it's interesting. I remember this, I heard Srila Prabhupada had discussion with someone, and then this person said, so what, yeah, maybe I want to be a dog in my next life, right? I mean, I guess it's not a very bad birth or whatever. And then Srila Prabhupada said, well, it depends also on your master, and you cannot really choose it. You can, this is just awarded to you. And who knows if the dog will be bitten, all his life. That's not very nice. But people don't care much nowadays, from what I hear from them. So, but we heard from other classes, like yesterday from Janaki, and before that about, we heard that yesterday also from Rambar Prabhu, right, about the compassion, how we have to, this is one of the utilizations of your human form of life. You can go out and actually try to take a part in saving conditioned souls. This is very glorious. This is very nice. I like that. Yeah, and all it requires for us to actually represent human beings on a nice level is to control the mind and control the senses. But it's so hard. And it compares actually that if you don't do this, you're not better than an animal. What's the difference, right? Well, animals mating, defending, sleeping, and eating. If we do the same thing, no matter what level we try to put it, whether you work hard all day and night, but still you do the same thing. Where is the evolution of consciousness really? There is hardly any evolution. And if this controlled power is not exhibited by the human being, then here is no better than an animal. By controlling the senses or by the process of yoga regulation, one can understand the position of yourself, the super soul, the world, and their interrelation. So we have these four, how Prabhupada call them, four of freedom, four
regulative principles of freedom.
Yeah, I think there was another word. 4 relative principles of freedom. 4 something of freedom. Yeah, anyway, he calls it a freedom, that if we actually follow these 4 regulative principles, and we can become free from all this. It's much easier to control the senses, it's much easier to control the mind, and the more the progress goes like that. So it says that you will be able to understand your own position, the super soul. I just saw this very nice picture in a book about the 2 birds, right? That we compare to one bird, and another bird is compared to a super soul. That we are actually doing the actions, and he's just looking at us. So even if we realize this part, this is pretty deep. Where I'm acting and someone is looking at me, and not just someone, but my best friend, someone who really cares for me, and he doesn't really do much, but he's just observing basically what I'm doing. I have free will to act, and this free will in human form of life, sometimes we misuse it, and really. In different ways. So when we actually follow in these regulative principles of freedom, it helps us to realize more and more and more as we go in our spiritual life. The self, the super soul, the world, and how they actually work together. Like that. That we're not only, I'm by myself, I don't belong to anybody, no one belongs to me, I don't own anything to anybody. Sometimes this position is perceived in different people like that. But this is not how it is. We depend fully on Krishna. We depend fully on the Lord, on everything. And it says, in the last paragraph that everything comes from Krishna. So Krishna, he is our Father. I'm the source of birth of everything, including Brahma and Lord Shiva and the living entities. And and it says that he is unborn, so we cannot really compare ourselves to Krishna, but the living entity is born of him. To think oneself the same as the Supreme is not self-realization. Yeah. The living entity is born of the Supreme Godhead as part and parcel. And I really like the last sentence of purport. Srila Prabhupada says, otherwise, he said, one should know that he is under the control of the Supreme Lord and not think that he is fully independent. Otherwise, why should he be put into conditioned life? Right? We know very well that when Krishna comes to this world, he comes by his own will. He is born, so-called born, but it's all going on by his will. He's not subjected to any karma or anything like this. But for human being, we're just dependent. Whatever we do, we come back in this way. And that's it. Otherwise, why should he be put into conditional life? If we were completely dependent, we wouldn't be here like that. But we don't have choice. And in the previous verse, I was thinking also what was very interesting, we didn't mention it yesterday, about this little jiva, right? He's praying, and in the previous verse it says that he's 10 months old. Usually a woman is pregnant for 9 months. Like, why is it 10? I was thinking. And of course we heard from previous classes of many different devotees how actually the birth starts not even from conception, but from even thinking about this, thinking about the idea to have kids like that. And it's pretty amazing that whatever we're subjected to, you know, that this little soul in the womb, he gets it. And yeah, we had many examples. The most prominent is probably Prahlad Maharaj, right, in the womb. He actually heard whole Śrimad Bhāgavatam. At ISV, they have very nice, ISKCON of Silicon Valley, they have very nice tradition. When a woman gets pregnant and she finds out about this, she starts reading Śrimad Bhāgavatam. And in 9 months, she finishes whole Śrimad Bhāgavatam. You have to read 55 pages a day to finish Śrimad Bhāgavatam in 9 months. But it's pretty amazing. It's, you know, Krishna will be pleased with this situation like that. Yeah, and prayers are very powerful. All I can, I guess, remember now. Are there any reflections or suggestions? Any thoughts, corrections, discussions? Yes, we will get you mic in a second.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, I had to figure out how to understand how to hold this. So you're comparing Mataji, or contrasting rather, the human being.
You just keep mic closer a little bit. It's hard to hear.
Both of them?
Just the big one.
Okay. You were comparing the human being with the animal, how they're doing the same things, and of course, so that's eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. And how so human beings have the unique capacity to inquire into the Supreme. It can be, I think that devotees sometimes can be mesmerized by certain human beings who are have opulence or intelligence because of their success in manipulating the material nature due to their past karmas. So it can be useful to understand the difference between how high material intelligence and transcendental knowledge, and that's something that's something easily misunderstood by those who have not had so much experience in Krishna consciousness. So if someone, because a non-devotee, frankly, sometimes they can quote the scripture better than the devotee, or sometimes they can out-debate the devotee on various topics, or know so many things that a devotee doesn't. And a devotee may be discouraged in experiencing or observing that. But in fact, higher material intelligence is nothing to do with higher consciousness. It just means that it has to do with knowing how to use the mind and the senses to do more of the same: eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. But someone who may not be very experienced or developed with their material intelligence may actually have superior knowledge, may be able to, and superior knowledge means being able to perceive the spirit, being able to distinguish between spirit and matter. And so younger devotees, they can be far, far more advanced than billionaires or, famous professors, because they're already beginning to act according to this higher knowledge, distinguishing between spirit and matter, channeling, developing the relationship with the Supreme. So higher consciousness just means you can be doing the same: eating, mating, sleeping, and defending, but you're trying to become, while you're doing those things, trying to become aware of the self, and ultimately awareness of the self ultimately means awareness of the self's connection with the Supreme Self. So that was just my comment. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Very nicely put comment. Yeah, this is very true. That it says that actual knowledge means to know the self, and means to know who God is and what my relationship is with Him. This is actual knowledge. And what people try to put something else as knowledge, this is not real knowledge. This is the Bhagavad Gita, right? Krishna actually lists what actual knowledge is, like that. But nowadays everything is so perverted. So we have to be really we have to have the spiritual strength to deal with everything, especially in preaching. Because there's so many different theories. Thank you. Anybody else? Just give a reflection. Reflections are easier. John.
Hare Krishna. Very nice class. And I was just appreciating that you're talking about your experience on book distribution, how you tell people about karma, and probably you even show them that painting in Bhagavad Gita, and they still are like, so what? And I was thinking that it kind of goes to show how thick ignorance can kind of deviate us. And we want to be happy, but then we have so much ignorance, we don't know how to be happy, that even when there's something that will make us happy right in front of us, we don't care about it. So I was appreciating that.
Yeah, thank you. It's kind of how they say when you fall in love, you have pink glasses. You have this expression, right? Pink glasses, like that. You don't see, you just see all good stuff, right, in the person. And then this is the same for us, with this illusory energy. We just have this glasses, like that, right? It's everything's supposed to be in this way. And I'm reading this new book of my Guru Maharaj called 4 questions, and there's one chapter which says eyes of service, something, glasses of service, eyes of service probably, like that. If you put on this, glasses of service, then you see everything different way. You can serve everyone around you in a very nice way, instead of being illusioned completely, like that. Yeah.
Yeah, also I was just thinking when you said the glasses, every day we're reciting Om Jnana Timirandasya and the blazing torch of knowledge. And I was thinking that we all have that little spark in us, that little flame. And the more that we become in knowledge and we become enlightened and can see stuff properly, then naturally, even the way that we just act in the world, people will be able to notice. Like a torch, you can't ignore. If you're in the darkness, you can't ignore something that's blazing.
Yeah, thank you for this point. And it comes again to this spiritual strength we have to have, no matter what. You know how this saying from Facebook, be the light in someone's life, all these kind of things. Yeah, be the light, go and distribute book in someone's life. You'll be the light. And yeah, just something about book distribution, what Prabhu was saying about how sometimes people, kind of challenge you, yeah, I know kind of more than you, and, all the time it's happening. I remember one situation when I was very, very anti-devoted. I was just started distributing books like that, and I couldn't be an argument or anything. Like it would just put me completely like, oh my God, what do I do now? But anyway, I met these people, and they looked very okay, nice, intelligent, and they started asking me these different questions. This gentleman, he said, "Oh, so okay, you follower of Krishna?" I said, "Yeah," but I knew he's going somewhere. And then he said, "Okay, let's see. What do you know about Krishna? Do you know why he is wearing peacock feather?" And then I started calculating in my mind. Oh my God, why? Where did I read it? Bhagavad Gita, Śrimad Bhāgavatam. No, I don't remember why. And then I said, I don't know. And then he started giving me so many different things, like kind of, because it goes well with his eyes and blah blah blah. One of the parts of his eyes is blue and peacock blue. And I was completely overwhelmed, oh my God, do I have to learn it? How do I don't know these things. And then they asked another question, something like maybe why he's playing the flute or something. Esoteric questions, right? But then anyway, it bewildered me completely. And then they left, and I was feeling okay, I don't know anything. But then I decided to ask our devotees from Harinam, and I came up to them and I said, why Krishna is wearing peacock feather? And the devotee said, because he likes it. And I was okay, this is actually much closer to the explanation of devotion rather than, whatever matches his eyes and, whatever else is there. Yeah, and this is, I still remember it was maybe 7 or 8 years ago, but it just gave me this understanding that it's not everything can be explained. Even though in our philosophy, literally everything can be explained but Krishna. You can't explain Krishna. It's the same with person. Why someone does something? No, you cannot explain it. You might, but then, people, personalities, they just behave, they just do things. The same as Krishna, he just does things, and there's no real explanation for it. So it's, but you see, if someone is very philosophical, they try to always why? Krishna's wearing peacock feather, why? He's playing the flute, why? He's dancing, why? Like kids, you can never satisfy the kid. They always ask him why. Why the sky is blue? Why grass is green? Why? The same, you can never satisfy such a person, no matter what you answer. So, yeah, the best is to take a humble position sometimes, which is one of the aroma and beauty of the fully grown flower, which is the blooming stage of Krishna consciousness. Humility is the jewel. It's very beautiful, very attractive quality. So it's 8:55. We still have 5 minutes for corner.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the nice class. I especially liked the comment about how this human form of life is Krishna's favorite form of life. Makes me think too, is Krishna really happy with like any life form? Because that means we're separated from him in a way. But it's also encouraging to hear, because it's like, oh wow, I'm very fallen and conditioned, but at the same time I'm given this like wonderful machine of a human body as a gift, and it can do so many things. Like, I was just, while you were saying that, I was looking around the room, and everybody's engaging their bodies in many different ways in service of the Lord, and it's really wonderful to witness, and how we can look at it in a positive light as well. Oftentimes, we just hear from devotees about we're so fallen, we're so low, but actually also we're very lucky to be in this human form of life and to have come across Krishna. And also a comment on the peacock feather. I saw an image that showed Radha in Sanskrit overlaid on the peacock feather, and it actually matches the pattern if you turn it to the side. In the pattern of the peacock feather actually says Radha, which is I don't know if that's it's a kind of esoteric, but also Krishna likes it. So
Thank you so much. I'll 2 more minutes to give a small comment. So about what you were saying, we engage, we get this human form of body and we engage in it, in service, and sometimes it might feel like we hear so many so-called negative things, it's more sometimes emphasizing negative instead of positive. I was actually thinking about it recently when Prabhu Vishnu Prabhu sent out the message about the rules for Śrimad Bhāgavatam class, about how he said the privilege to give a Bhāgavatam class will be given only to people who attended Bhāgavatam class and come from Mangalarti. And I was thinking about this word, even privilege. It's because sometimes we feel it's burden, isn't it? Sometimes I do. Whatever I do, or whatever, I have to read, I have to think, I have to do, I have to cook, I have to go out on books, such a burden. No? Sometimes it feels like it. But then, when I read this message, I was thinking, wow, this is privilege. And of course, we all know by now that the Tulsi prayer, it says, Seva adhikara diya korani jadasi. I believe this is this line that, please give me the privilege of devotional service. Seva adhikar, give me adhikar to do this service. It's actually privilege to do this. And I was thinking the same with this body. We might think it's a burden, but actually, it might be a burden sometimes. Not easy to be in these bodies. But it's privilege. Yeah, it's nice to hear these verses. And also some in Bhagavatam read, I can't remember over my head, but Srila Prabhupada says there is two types of burden. There is a burden of, basically heavy stuff, whatever, you kind of carry this burden. And there's also a burden of love. And this burden of love, it's something, your duty to someone, for example. Maybe you don't want to do it, right? But it's a burden of love. Or your duty to your spiritual master, right? First we're so excited about everything. New relationships, new, spiritual master, something. But then it gets kind of a little bit intense, you get more familiar. And then you would basically carry this burden, but this burden of love. If we see it in this way, it's very, very nice. It's, I was thinking about these devotees in New Vrindavan who built this palace of gold. They carry this burden of love. And look what came out of it. It's a pretty amazing thing. The offering of love. Yeah, thank you so much for wonderful reflections, attention, and all glorious to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.